Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Zoe. Buenos dias. Good morning, Petra. We've got our pyjama day today. I am enjoying being in my pyjamas this morning. Good morning, Isabel. Good morning, Isabella and Anthony. Who else do we have this morning? Good morning, Frankie, if you're watching. Good morning, Eleanor. I might just move that to the side. Good morning, Chloe. Good morning. Good morning, Leon. How are you? How is everyone? Right, let's see who else we have today. So remember, today is we're just going to do reading today. I'm not going to give you. Well, I haven't really been giving you a task anyway because it's the holidays. But especially today. Today is Good Friday. Okay, and it's a special day that Christians, I wouldn't necessarily say celebrate, but yeah, they kind of do. So if you are a Christian today, you wouldn't really be eating any meat. You'd be eating fish or just no meat. Some of you probably don't eat meat anyway, so there's no difference for you. Yeah, so today's Good Friday and Monday is a bank holiday, so I won't be doing a story time on Monday. Good morning, Bethany. Yes, we are. Right, let's wait for a couple. Let's give a couple more people 1 or 2 minutes to join, and then we'll begin for today. Who's wearing the pajamas? Who's in their pajamas this morning? Let's see. Let's have hands up if you are in your pajamas, and it's fine if you're not. But yeah, and it's really funny because actually I'm fully dressed and I'm ready to go for a run after this. Out of my pajamas. I'll be going for a run. Ah, you're in your pajamas, Eleanor, Zoe, Leon. It'd be fun if we could like all see each other. That would be fun. And then we could, like if we were in class. Good morning, Isabel and Christina. Ah, you're in your pajamas. Super. That's fun. We'll give people a couple minutes because I know that there's people who are usually on. Maybe they just haven't realised the time. And yes, I am. My pajamas are Minnie Mouse. They've got the hood. Very funny. I might just change my hair because actually, if you know me, you know that I get a bit sick of having stuff in my hair. So I'm just going to put it up now. Anthony and Isabella, you're in your pajamas. Chloe and Bethany, you're in your pajamas. That's fun. Good morning. Good morning, James and William. Are you in your pajamas this morning, James and William? Yes. It's James and William, Zoe. You're Donald Duck. I love it, Leon. Fun. Everybody, it sounds like everybody's in their pajamas. It's fun pajamas day. And I know that Joe Wicks did another, he did another fancy dress. So it's kind of like fancy dress if you're in your pajamas. But I know that people were so desperate to wear their pajamas, so we did a pajama day today. Good morning, Martha and Patrick. Nice to see you. We started reading The Twits yesterday. I don't know if maybe you watched after we'd done the live. So I think we've got most of our I'd say regulars. So we're going to begin in a minute. We'll start with our poem for the day, okay? A poem a day. And we were just talking about the fact that today is Good Friday. Can anyone tell me any facts about Good Friday? What do you know about Good Friday? If we were in school last week, we would have spoken about this last week. Anyone know any facts? Oh, James, it was your dog's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday to your dog. Did he have a birthday party? I wouldn't be surprised because we are all at home, so you might as well. On Good Friday, you prepare hot cross buns. That's interesting. Okay, Zoe. Pablo. His name's Pablo, the dog. Okay. Okay, so let's go with our poem for today. Yes, the hot cross bun symbolizes the cross. Well done, Zoe. You are on the board today with your facts. Fantastic. Right, so our poem for today is called Spells, and it's by James Reeves. I dance and dance without any feet. This is the spell of the ripening wheat. With never a tongue, I've a tale to tell. This is the meadow grass's spell. I give you health without any feet. This is the spell of the apple tree. I rhyme and I riddle without any book. This is the spell of the bubbling brook. Without any legs, I run forever. This is the spell of the mighty river. I fall forever and not at all. This is the spell of the waterfall. Without a voice, I roar aloud. This is the spell of the thundercloud. Good morning, Dominic and Noemi. No button or seam has my white coat. This is the spell of the leaping goat. I can cheat strangers with never a word. This is the spell of a cuckoo bird. We have tongues in plenty but speak no names. This is the spell of the fiery flames. The creaking door has a spell to riddle. I play a tune without any fiddle. And that was Spells by James Reeves. And yes, you are all right. Good morning, Ava and Jack. And happy birthday, Jack. We've got a birthday. Finally, we've got a birthday. Happy birthday, Jack. So everyone can say happy birthday to Jack. I hope you're having a super duper day. I saw that you had a sleepover with your sister last night, which looked like so much fun. So I hope that you are going to have a super day today. I know it's a bit different to probably your normal birthdays, but you know what? I'm sure your mummy will make it amazing because she is amazing. Oh, look, everyone's saying happy birthday to you, Jack. That's superb. Okay, so yes, you are right. Good Friday. Well done to those of you who said what Good Friday is. Good Friday is a Christian holiday and it's commemorating, yes, the crucifixion. So Jesus being crucified at Calvary, okay? And it's so we're still in Easter. We're still in Easter week, and in our Holy Week, sorry. And then Sunday is Easter Sunday, and we can finally have anything that we've given up. So if you've given something up, you can finally have it, okay? And just really be mindful that if you have given something up, think about how hard it's been for you, especially probably during isolation. And just think of that sacrifice that so many people make for us and that we make for other people. And it just makes you really mindful of all the things that we do for other people and why we do things for other people, okay? And also mindful of all those people who look after you and how much they sacrifice for you and how much they do for you. So always being grateful for all the people in our lives and for everything we have in our lives. As always, Ms. Lopez is always talking about gratitude and being grateful for everything that we have. Lots of people are saying happy birthday to you, Jack, even on Instagram. Chloe and Bethany are saying happy birthday. Isabel and Christina, Martha and Patrick. And happy birthday, Bethany, for the 7th. So whenever it is your birthday, either tell me the day before and I will make sure I mention you, or tell me on the day and I'll make sure that we say happy birthday. Some people are wearing unicorn onesies. Ah, fantastic. Do you know what? We could stay here all day chatting, couldn't we? Because we love chatting, and Miss Lopez definitely loves chatting. But we're going to get on to our reading. So I said that from next week, so I'm not doing story time on Monday because it's bank holiday, I'm going to have a rest. But from Tuesday, I will read you a poem, a storybook, and then we'll get through the twits, okay? So let's see where we are in our book. Let's see where we were. Mrs. Twit has the shrinks. As soon as Mrs. Twit sat down, Mr. Twit pointed at her and shouted, "There you are! You're sitting in your old chair and you've shrunk so much your feet aren't even touching the ground." Mrs. Twit looked down at her feet, and by golly, the man was right. Her feet were not touching the ground. Mr. Twit, you see, had been just as clever with the chair as he'd been with the walking stick. Every night when he had gone downstairs and stuck a little bit extra on the stick, he had done the same to the four legs of Mrs. Twit's chair. "Just look at you sitting there in your same old chair," he cried, "and you've shrunk so much that your feet are dangling in the air." Mrs. Twit went white with fear. "You've got the shrinks," cried Mr. Twit, pointing his finger at her like a pistol. "You've got them badly. You've got the most terrible case of shrinks I've ever seen." Mrs. Twit became so frightened she began to dribble, but Mr. Twit, still remembering the words in his spaghetti, didn't feel sorry for her at all. They're so mean to each other. "Suppose you know what happens to you when you get the shrinks," he said. "What?" gasped Mrs. Twit. "What happens? Your head shrinks into your neck, and your neck shrinks into your body, and your body shrinks into your legs, and your legs shrink into your feet. And in the end, there's nothing left except a pair of shoes and a bundle of old clothes." "I can't bear it," cried Mrs. Twit. "It's a terrible disease," said Mr. Twit, "the worst in the world." "How long have I got?" cried Mrs. Twit. "How long before I finish up as a bundle of old clothes and a pair of shoes?" Mr. Twit put on a very solemn face. At the rate you're going," he said, shaking his head sadly, "I'd say not more than 10 or 11 days. "But isn't there anything we can do?" cried Mrs. Twit. "There's only one cure for the shrink," said Mr. Twit. "Tell me," she cried. "Oh, tell me quickly." "We'll have to hurry," said Mr. Twit. "I'm ready. I'll hurry. I'll do anything you say," cried Mrs. Twit. "You won't last long if you don't," said Mr. Twit, giving her another grisly grin. "What is it I must do?" cried Mrs. Twit, clutching her cheeks. "You've got to be stretched," said Mr. Twit. "He is so mean, so mean. He's a savage." That reminds me of a song. Mrs. Twit gets a stretching. Mr. Twit led Mrs. Twit outdoors where he had everything ready for the great stretching. He had 100 balloons and lots of string. He had a gas cylinder for filling the balloons. He had fixed an iron ring into the ground. "Stand here," he said, pointing to the iron ring. He then tied Mrs. Twit's ankles to the iron ring. When that was done, he began filling the balloons with gas. Each balloon was on a long string, and when it was filled with gas, it pulled on its strings, trying to go up and up. Mr. Twit tied the ends of the strings to the top half of Mrs. Twit's body. Some he tied around her neck, some under her arms, some to her wrists, and some even to her hair. Soon there were 50 coloured balloons floating in the air above Mrs. Twit's head. "Oh, why am I yawning so much?" "Can you feel them stretching you?" asked Mr. Twit. I can, cried Mrs. Twit. "They're stretching me like mad." He put on another 10 balloons. The upward pull became very strong. Mrs. Twit was quite helpless now. Oh no, indeed. With her feet tied to the ground and her arms pulled upwards by the balloons, she was unable to move. She was a prisoner. And Mr. Twit had intended to go away and leave her like that for a couple of days and nights to teach her a lesson. In fact, he was just about to leave when Mrs. Twit opened her big mouth and said something silly. And that's what gave Mr. Twit his second nasty idea. Mrs. Twit goes ballooning up. There's enough pull here to make me go to the moon, to take me to the moon, Mrs. Twit cried out. To take you to the moon, exclaimed Mr. Twit. What a ghastly thought. We wouldn't want anything like that to happen. Oh, dear me, no. We most certainly wouldn't, cried Mrs. Twit. Put some more strings around your ankles quickly. I want to feel around my ankles quickly. I want to feel absolutely safe. Very well, my angel, said Mr. Twit, and with a ghoulish grin on his lips, he knelt down at her feet. He took a knife from his pocket, and with one quick slash, he cut through the strings holding Mrs. Twit's ankles to the iron ring. She went up like a rocket. Help! She screamed. Save me! And there she goes up. Is he going to save her? But there was no saving her now. In a few seconds, she was high up in the blue sky and climbing fast. Mr. Twit stood below, looking up. What a pretty sight, he said to himself. How lovely all those balloons look in the sky, and what a marvellous bit of luck for me. At last the old hag is lost and gone forever. Mrs. Twit comes ballooning down. Mrs. Twit may have been ugly and she may have been beastly, but she was not stupid. High up there in the sky, she had a bright idea. If I can get rid of some of these balloons, she said to herself, I will stop going up and start coming down. So she's got an idea. A little bit similar to James and the Giant Peach, isn't it? She began biting through the strings that had held the balloons to her wrists and arms and neck and hair. Each time she bit through a string and let the balloon float away. The upward pull got less and her rate of climb slowed down. When she'd bitten through 20 strings, she stopped going up altogether. She stayed still in the air. She bit through one more string. Very, very slowly, she began to float downwards. It was a calm day. There was no wind at all. And because of this, Mrs. Twit had gone absolutely straight up. She now began to come absolutely straight down. As she floated gently down, Mrs. Twit's petticoat billowed out like a parachute, showing her long knickers. It was a grand sight on a glorious day, and thousands of birds came flying in from miles to stare at this extraordinarily old woman in the sky. Mr. Twit gets a horrid shock. He's going to be surprised. Look at his face. I think that's his face when she comes down. Mr. Twit, who thought he had seen his ugly wife for the last time, was sitting in the garden celebrating with a mug of beer. Silently, Mrs. Twit came floating down. When she was about the height of the house above Mr. Twit, she suddenly called out at the top of her voice, Here I come, you grisly old grunion, you rotten old turnip, you filthy old frumpet. Mr. Twit jumped as soon as he'd been stung, as though he'd been stung by a giant wasp. He dropped his beer. He looked up. He gaped. He gasped. He gurgled. A few choking sounds came out of his mouth. He said, ouch! I'll get you for this, shouted Mrs. Twit. She was floating down right on top of him. She was purple with rage and slashing the air with her long walking stick. Ma? Nothing. With her long walking shoes, she had somehow managed to hang on to all the time. I'll swish you to the swazzle, she shouted. I'll swash you to a swizzle. I'll nash you to a nozzle. I'll nosh you to a nazzle. And before Mr. Twit had time to run away, this bundle of balloons and petticoats and fiery, furry fury landed right on top of him, lashing out with the stick and cracking him all over his body. No. Que mate un... The house, the tree, and the monkey cage. This is, I think this might be the last chapter we read for today. But that's enough of that. We can't go on forever watching these two disgusting people doing disgusting things to each other. We must get ahead with the story. Here is a picture of Mr. and Mrs. Twit's house and garden. Some house. It looks like a prison and not a window anywhere. Who wants windows? Mr. Twit had said when they were building it. Who wants every Tom, Dick and Harry peeping in to see what we're doing? It didn't occur to Mr. Twit that windows were meant mainly for looking out of, not looking into. So maybe if you want a task for today, you could describe their house. So have a good look at it. No windows. It's horrible. Desolate. Derelict. Lots of words you can think of for that. And what do you think of this ghastly garden? Mrs. Twit was the gardener. She was very good at growing thistles and stinging nettles. I always grow plenty of spiky thistles and plenty of stinging nettles, she used to say. They keep out nasty, nosy little children. Near the house, you can see Mr. Twit's work shed. To one side, there is a big dead tree. It never has any leaves on it because it's dead. And not far from the tree, you can see the monkey cage. There are 4 monkeys in it. They belong to Mr. Twit. You will hear about them later. Should we do one more? Yeah, we've got time. Hug tight sticky glue. Once a week, on Wednesdays, the Twits had bird pie for supper. Mr. Twit caught the birds and Mrs. Twit cooked them. Mr. Twit was good at catching birds. On the day before Bird Pie Day, he would put the ladder up against the big dead tree and climb into the branches with a bucket of glue and a paintbrush. The glue he used was something called Hug Tight, and it was stickier than any other glue in the world. He would paint it along the tops of the branches and then go away. As the sun went down, birds would fly in from all around to roost for the night in the big dead tree. They didn't know, poor things, that the branches were all smeared with horrible Hug Tight. The moment they landed on a branch, their feet stuck, and that was that. The next morning, which was Bird Day, Mr. Twit would climb up the ladder again and grab all the wretched birds that were stuck to the tree. It didn't matter what kind they were. Song thrushes, blackbirds, sparrows, crows, little Jenny wrens, robins, anything. They all went into the pot for the Wednesday bird pie supper. Oh, poor animals. Do you know what? We've got time. Let's do one more. 4 sticky little boys. On one Tuesday evening, after Mr. Twit had been up the ladder and smeared all the tree with Hug Tight, 4 little boys smeared the tree. 4 little boys crept into the garden to look at the monkeys. They didn't care about the thistles and stinging nettles, not when there were monkeys to look at. After a while, they got tired of looking at the monkeys, so they explored further into the garden and found the ladder leaning against the big dead tree. They decided to climb up it just for fun. The next morning, when Mr. Twit went out to collect the birds, he found 4 miserable little boys sitting in the tree, stuck as tight as could be by the seats of their pants to the branches. There were no birds because of the presence of the boys had scared them away. Mr. Twit was furious. "Are there no birds for my pie tonight?" he shouted. "Then it'll have to be boys instead." He started to climb the ladder. "Boy pie might be better than bird pie," he went on, grinning horribly. "More meat and not so many tiny bones." The little boys were terrified. "He's going to boil us," cried one of them. "He'll stew us alive," wailed the second one. "He'll cook us with carrots," cried the third. But the 4th little boy, who had more sense than the others, whispered, "Listen, I've had an idea. We're only stuck by the seats of our pants. So quick, unbutton your pants and slip out of them and fall to the ground." Mr. Twit had reached the top of the ladder and was just about to make a grab for the nearest boy when they all suddenly tumbled out of the tree and ran home with their naked bottoms winking in the sun. And off they go running. And that is where we're going to stop for today. Okay? And that was funny. He's a horrible, horrible man, isn't he? Let me just get my board because I want to do something before you go. So I think because today is Good Friday, and I really feel like this weekend is a weekend for, I'm just grabbing my board. I feel like this weekend is a really good weekend for some reflection and some thoughts. And obviously, if you are Christian, it's nice. It's a good weekend for some prayer. I thought before you go, I could just remind you, especially if you're not in my class, about our 5 minutes of gratitude, okay? And you can do this every day, or you can just do this once a week, or whenever you'd like to do it, okay? So before you go, I'm just going to show you the 5-minute gratitude, 5 minutes of gratitude. And you can do this in the morning, or you can do this in the evening. It's completely up to you, okay? And in those 5 minutes of gratitude, you're going to think of 3 things you're grateful for. And why. Remember to always explain why. You like my pen, then you. And I love that it's purple. And then you're going to think of 3 amazing things. If you're doing this in the morning, think of 3 amazing things that could happen today, that could happen to make today amazing. But if you're doing it in the evening, think of 3 amazing things that have happened, okay? That have happened. Good morning, Asana. And then you are going to write affirmations, okay? So if you've tuned into my yoga and mindfulness, then you know what affirmations are. Or if you are in my class, you definitely know what affirmations are. But affirmations are when you say, I am. And you say lots of positive things about yourself. And even if maybe you don't feel like you really are that, the more you say it, the more you'll believe it, okay? So you can say things like, I am super, I am amazing, I am a good friend, I am beautiful. There are so many affirmations that you can say, okay? And then it's nice to also finish with, not every day is a perfect day, and none of us are perfect. So sometimes it's good to finish at the end of the day thinking about how you will make tomorrow better, okay? How you'll make tomorrow better. Eleanor, I love that you do daily affirmations. It's so, so important, and it really does change your mindset, and it helps you to have a growth mindset and to just be happier in general, okay? Gratitude and affirmations are so, so important, okay? And even when you're praying, you might want to do gratitude. It doesn't have to be when you're praying, but you can do it when you're praying. So yes, you can say, I'm loving, I'm smart, I'm courageous, I'm amazing, I'm brave. Oh, look at all those beautiful affirmations. Okay, so this is maybe your little task for the weekend, to just have a little bit of time of reflection and a time of gratitude, and think of all those things that you're grateful for, and maybe thinking about Good Friday and the sacrifice that Jesus made. Maybe think about the people who sacrificed things for you and why you're grateful to them. Okay? Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed our story time. I hope you have a good time thinking of all those things that you're grateful for. And I hope that you have a lovely Easter weekend. If you are having chocolate, enjoy. Remember, don't eat too much. I don't want you all getting a bellyache or being sick. And yes, you are a good brother. I love that affirmation. I'm a good brother. I'm a good sister. I'm a good friend. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed our story time. Have a lovely weekend. I will see you on Tuesday, not Monday. Remember, Tuesday for our story time. You are so welcome. I am so grateful for you. Sorry. I'm so grateful for you because you watch and you give me such lovely comments. Thank you so much. See you Tuesday. Bye. I'm just turning off Instagram. See you on Tuesday, superstars. Jack, have a lovely rest of the day. Enjoy your birthday. Lots of love, everybody. Lots of positive energy and lots of love. Spread love. Remember, be kind. Always be kind. See you later.